Whether you're a Class 5 rafter or just looking for a couple of laughs, these two have you covered. Welcome to Aaron and Zach's Better Than Mediocre Rafting Show.
Gentlemen, we have a big show ahead of us. Are you guys ready for this?
Ready.
Yeah, totally ready.
So before we get started, the normal announcements, like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on River Talk Podcast, that's the audio only. You should pull over, find a computer, and watch us on YouTube. This is way better on YouTube than it is as a podcast. And
they're listening to us, and they're not. If they're listening to us on that, though, they're not listening live. Is that correct? Or can you listen to us live?
You can't listen. Yeah, that's a good point. Don't pull over. If you're listening to this on no, pull over and watch the recording because there's a recording on YouTube as well. So if you're listening to this on River Talk Podcast, stop, pull over, find a computer. Google Zach stuck at Tappan Falls, and you'll find this on YouTube. And then you can watch it on YouTube as a recording. But for those of you that want just the audio, this is a podcast. And we have a big show. Do you guys get ready to get going?
Yeah, let's rally. Let's do it.
We have 5 things to do, 5 topics. We're at Bedrock video. We have the mental angle of Steve.
Ooh.
Some bogus thunder video. Some video of me stuck at Tappan Falls. And a trivia question. Where do you guys want to start?
Bogus Thunder.
Bogus Thunder. We can do that. It's easy.
Yeah.
So this was sent in by do we call them viewers? A listener? All right, I got it. You guys see it there? A watcher. Yeah, this is sent in by somebody who watches the show. Aaron, do you want to give some background on Bogus Thunder real quick?
North Fork of the American River, and this is, there's those rapids, like this is probably like the hardest class 4 rapid out there type of thing, where you call it class 4, but man, it's a mean rapid. I feel like this is one of the most stressful class 4 rapids I've ever run. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I've kayaked it probably 50 times. But I've also flipped a raft here twice and rapped here once. So I know the rapid really well, and I still have had problems.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you did it every week, you'd probably be a lot better than if you do it once, twice, 3 times a year. So learning curve.
Yeah. It's challenging because
I just looked I don't know the exact, there's not a gauge on the North Fork of the American, but the inflow to Lake Clementine is 3,000 right now. It's been raining for 36 hours here in the Sierra, so it's pretty nice.
Wow.
That's a spicy flow on that run.
Yeah, flow, you probably shouldn't be onto that. I think the high water cutoff is in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I do too.
3.
Yeah.
But 6,000 is dangerous.
Do you say it's 6,000 or 3,000 right now?
3,000 right now.
Okay.
We looked at.
Now, I'd say the hard part about Bogus is all the current's taking you in the middle into kind of a civvy, junky, toaster slotty area, and you got to get left, but there's guard rocks keeping you from easing the game left, so you got to wait to get left, and which makes it's a messy rapid. It's a hard rapid to hit. It's a very fine line to get in there. Very fine line. Yeah, and I feel like if you try to back ferry, it doesn't usually work. You need to forward across for some reason. Have you guys been able to back ferry that?
I've had really bad luck here in a raft. Nobody should listen to my advice on how to raft this.
Yeah, I usually forward across. I'll hit that top thing and try to hit it and angle it where it slows me down some and turns me to forward into that chute on river left. But that's where I've had the most success with.
I tried back ferrying over there once, and because I was pointed right, it took me right, and I rapped on the right side.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. It wasn't fun.
I've seen boats try and do what Aaron was just describing. And some of them have a good line down that left-hand side, but a lot of them go for the big rocks in the middle. A lot of them go right. I mean, even you can end up in the wrong place, even starting in the same place every time.
Yeah, and it's not a place you want to swim. Like there's places where you're like, it stinks. You go in there, you flip and whatever, but you're like, you don't want to swim there. That's a messy spot. Yeah.
So I think what we're looking at here in the foreground or in the bottom left-hand corner of the video, that's the line.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I'm guessing this is like 800 CFS. It probably says in the video somewhere.
Some people go middle. Some people take a middle line. You see, like,
On
back
purpose?
in the day, what used to do this cool middle line that was, it was a little more exposed, but it went. So
one of my flips and my wrap were both working trips for wet. And I didn't know about the middle line. I was trying to get over here. But anyway, we'll keep watching. What do you guys guess the flow is right now? 800? Because this channel.
Oh, higher. Well, if they can get over that rock, I think it's higher than 800. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I bet it's low. You're right.
I mean, getting a raft through what we see right there, that channel that's right in front of us.
If they can slide over and it's enabling, it's definitely higher. Yeah.
That's tough to get a boat through there.
It just
doesn't look like the line.
Okay, they got a cataract with the person on the front. That's going to be tough. That's a lot of weight on the front of that boat, and it's going to want to track to the right. That's going to be a lot tougher with that person on the front.
It's going to track to the.
Oh, they're going to push it. Oh, they're just going straight. He's going to push over there. Oh, he's going.
Wow.
Is he going to the toaster slot?
So this is a toaster slot.
Oh yeah. Well, they're staying upright.
Is this why it's called the toaster slot? Is it because you go in and you get popped out?
Yeah, don't. That's some incredible footage. Oh, ow! They're all wrapped up in the frame.
Let's watch that again.
Fortunately, that part of the swim isn't bad. Like
once you're there, right? It's not terrible because that's
they got through the toaster slot before they flipped over.
Yeah.
I know people have gone deep there, though. I think there's some squirrely water coming out the bottom there. Like, I think Holly Greco's husband, Matt, took a little bit deep swim right around there, I believe.
I'm guessing that, Aaron, I've never rowed this. I've only taken a paddle boat through it. Have you ever rowed it, Aaron? Have you always been
Yeah, like the first time I rafted it, actually Doug Weedwall came with me, and he didn't know it was my first time taking a raft down, and I rode it my first time, and Doug was in the front. And then we got down.
You rode it with passengers. You did an oar paddle combo.
No, just Doug and I. Well, Doug and I.
You rode Dougie down.
Yeah, I rode Dougie down. Yeah, that was the first time I ever did it. Yeah, you can't. You can pull in. You can definitely pull into it, and you can do it with oars. You get a lot of angle. I get pivot more sideways and pull backwards and cut in there. I've done that. Have you done this, Steve?
No, I've only done it in a paddle boat. But if I was going to go do it at this water level, I think I'd rather be in that cataract than in a paddle boat.
Yeah,
I think my chances are better in that boat than any other boat that I could take through there. I'm not going to.
I think Aaron's point is a good one about you want to forward this move.
No, I disagree.
You come in and do a back ferry over.
I would pull this, yeah, for absolutely 100%
in a paddle boat.
No. I'm in this.
If you're in this boat,
in a paddle boat, I think that's the problem. Is the paddle boat, you're going to compound the speed. You're going to shorten the amount of time you have to get over to the left hand side. In an oar boat.
But in the paddle boat, would you forward this? Like, would you just kind of come through here, turn
aiming
and go
straight
forward
at the
paddle?
person who's taking?
That's why I think a paddle boat's maybe easier, because I think it's easy to come through and turn it and just call a forward paddle.
When you hit the feature at the top, you can hit the feature at the top pointing left, and so it tracks you left. And it's trickier when you're saying to pull. You almost want to go through the feature pointed left and then pivot and then pull to the left, if that makes sense. Like where they're pointed right now, I would have my front pointed more towards the left shore, almost through that first hole. And then once we pop through and kind of get over into that eddy water on the left side of the hole, then pivot backwards and pull back across. And that's why I think it's complicated. Like in an oar paddle combo, would you pull it as well, Steve, with 4 paddlers?
I think in an oar paddle combo, I would still. I ferry more than I track or whatever. So I would still try. I don't know. It's hard to see what that hole is like, but the hole that they're in right now, I would almost want to surf that hole.
Yeah,
I would want to come out of that hole with the least amount of momentum possible. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I'm through the hole, as soon as I know I'm not getting back into it, I'm not going to get turned sideways, I would angle my bow to the right-hand shore and just try and hug that little line of rocks right along that left-hand shore.
So with a paddle boat, you'd forward it, Steve. Or a paddle combo, you would try to ferry over, to try to pull your stern over and ferry over.
I'm gonna put Steve in the Zach Hall, your super jacked and strong category of just to muscle it over there.
Yeah.
That's the guns move right there.
This was the young Steve. I haven't done this for 5 or 10 years, so
now you got the old man streak still going for you, Steve. I bet you could still do it. Yeah,
I think actually, I would be the video person in this scenario. I'd be the one to take pictures. And I'll just get in that green boat that's in the eddy below.
Yeah. I'll just take photos of everybody that way. Everyone can get to run it. I'll get photos of all of you. That's a good idea.
I'm now with my throw bag or with my video camera. I'm the downstream containment safety guy.
I haven't done this in 10 or 15 years. It's been a long time since I've been in North Fork, so I forget exactly what the entrance of Bogus is like. But do you guys think you could downstream ferry this? Like come through that hole with a little bit of downstream, pull through, and then swing it in?
You could. It's just that the drop is a little steep and it's a little abrupt to do that. And I'd worry about people getting thrown out and gain width. Okay. It's
even in the cat. What about in the cat boat downstream? Come in and like kind of pull and then just catch your stern in that slack water, and then have the bow come around. I'm
gonna say is if that cat didn't have the person up front, I think he could have easily pulled to the left because it'd be so light, you'd just be on top. And
pull 90 degrees of the current or pull downstream and then spin.
Pull upstream. I think you do an upstream ferry if there wasn't a person in the front of the boat. But there's a person in the front of the boat, you don't want to drop off backwards anyways.
Here's what I have seen in this situation. I've seen it in a lot of these tight little situations where that raft is right now. Maintaining your ferry angle coming out of that hole is the key to this whole thing. The paddle boats, the boats that end up going far right, going in the middle, going over the left, lose their ferry angle in that moment. It's abrupt. Yep. You get surfed a little bit. I mean, you're talking about a 5-degree angle that you might have. He has
the angle right there, and now he doesn't.
Exactly.
And I would also say coming into that hole, I'd want it. Depending what you're planning to do is I'd either want to be way on the left side of the hole and drop in left and try to hit the eddy water on the left and get that left tube over a little farther drops, or start way on the right side of that hole so all your movement is right to left across.
And I think the reason the downstream ferry angle, the reason it would make me nervous is because I have a much harder time maintaining a really fine ferry angle when I'm facing downstream. Like I'm slower to react. I'm not as in tune with my angle. If I'm looking downstream, I can react much more quickly. So I don't think I would do that with a downstream ferry angle. And I don't think that the urgency of that speed outweighs that.
This is definitely my nemesis rapid in a raft.
This is a really tough stretch.
I never really figured this one out in a raft. I never felt like I could consistently do it.
I have been there when that far right chute is open, like one slot to the right of where these people are entering. And it's a little less abrupt, more likely to maintain your ferry angle. Coming through, you got further to go. But I would say going a greater distance with a good ferry angle is better than going a shorter distance and worrying about your ferry angle.
How big do you guys think this boat is?
The cat?
Yeah.
13?
15.
So they say 16.
I think so. That's like a pretty big boat.
It's a big boat for this run.
Oh, it says 16 foot, 1993 Blue Puma. Or that, maybe those aren't related.
And the tricky thing too,
really
good. The tricky thing with this cat too is there's not like a tunnel frame. So you see how where the guy's sitting below there, the frame is really low. If you try to go over this rock right here with that frame, you'd probably hit metal on that rock, or you could hit metal on that rock. I think the frame makes it hard to straddle rocks.
Yeah, I don't think you need a tunnel frame for that move, but I hear what you're saying. But I think with the guy in front makes it a little more.
Definitely weighs the front down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything they could have done to avoid flipping.
They did a good high side.
He's on
right there. Well, the passenger does a high side, but the rower does a good job.
Passenger's on a low side.
And I wouldn't say the guide isn't doing that great of a high side either.
He's making an attempt to high side. He does a good. This is what I like this part a lot. The recovery.
Boom.
He really gets quick. Right back. He knows he's done it. He's practiced. Like if this is your first time doing this, you're just floating. He knows like
drifting get up off of the boat there.
What's the oar?
Oh, someone threw a throw bag to him.
Yeah. Which that's a place
that's a place I don't know if I wouldn't mind a throwback there because that next little rapid sucks.
I wouldn't mind a throwback there at all. That's a great.
Look at that Grand Slalom. Grand Slalom is tough, man. I think that's the thing is this is tough, and the Grand Slalom right after, in some ways, is tougher. There's that narrow gap you got to shoot between where you can get stuck sideways and tacoed.
It looks like he's wearing two throw bags. It looks like he has a salamander waist belt and then some other waist belt bag. So he's prepared, and his friends right when he looks, there's a bag coming to him. I mean, you don't want a bag right now, but he looks and there's a bag right over his shoulder. That's pretty sweet.
I think that was more luck than
maybe
reading, but yeah.
Let's
you guys want to move on?
I'm just gonna say on this run, I think this is like one of the best runs in California. I think it is like one of the best runs in the world. I mean, it's short, but it is such a spectacular stretch of river. It's so pretty in there. It's unbelievable. Like, yeah, I never pass up a chance to go up in there. I think it is just so incredible particularly down to Yankee Gym, that top part.
Yeah, I mean, North Fork American's one of the most special rivers in the world.
That being said, yeah, and I was gonna say the thing. My preference on this run is to run a paddle boat with like maybe 4 people in it, 2 or 4 people. I think a light paddle boat is really fun.
Yeah,
it stays on top. It doesn't get too much momentum because you don't want a lot of momentum. It's pretty steep. But when you start getting more weight, even like this cat with the 2 people, it becomes a lot more challenging. So there's a lot of comments, huh?
Other stuff. He talks about oar control here. Yeah. Good. Like his left oar is in his hand, stays in his hand. Does a good job of holding on to his oar.
Yeah.
Oh, if those are pins and clips, he'd probably be a little more stable. Oh, that's so hard to watch. You guys want to move on? We have a lot to do today.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do bedrock, mental angle, me stuck, or trivia?
Let's do mental angle.
Oh, are you ready, Steve?
I am ready. I am ready.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. We got to do your intro.
Do we have a new intro yet?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's time for the mental angle, featuring Steve Welch. In this segment, Steve helps us approach the mental game of guiding, trip leading, and running whitewater. Let's all give Steve a big welcome.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Thank you. I'm going to make sure that my wife gets to see that. Okay, so the mental angle, we're going to talk about the non-gear types of situations that might be encountered on the river. I have threw some ideas down for future topics.
Okay.
But really, this segment is only going to survive if we see strong interest from the audience. If we see people commenting, asking questions, contributing, giving us a place to go. Otherwise, it's going to have a short. It's not going to get renewed for season 2. Some of the topics I want to talk about: how to find other people to go on trips with. That seems to be a common thing. I haven't done any research on it yet. We're going to start to explore that. That's not today's topic. Something you guys talked about before, apparently, is how to be a good trip participant. I think that would be a really fun thing to explore. Another one would be how to pick good trip participants. Like if you are the trip leader, what things you might want to ask or look for in who you're going to go with. How to be a good trip leader. Maybe some more specific things like how to diffuse tension once you're out on the river. How to create community on your trip. How to deal with setbacks and situations, and not emergency things, but more of the melodramatic things. But today we're going to start with the basics. Episode 1 is going to deal with an acronym that I'm sure you guys have been seeing a lot of. It's catching on, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it Love Actually style. Here's the acronym. Hagai. It's all over the place. I'm going to go through it really quickly for you. This is sort of what happens before your private trip. P, I've never done this. P is you get a phone call, and it's from your uncle or your friend or somebody you know really well, and they're asking you to go on a private trip. And then there's sort of a series of things we want to go through in order to make that decision. And the first rule of Po'ohagai, the P rule, P1, is never say yes or no on that first phone call. We're gonna go slowly, unless that trip is leaving tomorrow. Even if that trip is leaving tomorrow, you're gonna call them back after you have a little bit of time to think about the other parts of this acronym. WWW is, let me look it up, make sure I get it right.
Isn't that the World Wide Web?
World Wide Web, where you're going, when you're going, who you're going with. And I would posit that those questions are in that order of importance. Where you're going might be the least important piece of information you need to make the decision. When you're going might be as important, maybe a little bit more important. But who you're going with is probably the most important. If Zach calls you and invites you on a private trip, it's completely different than if your cousin Daryl calls you and asks you on a private trip. I don't care where you're going or when you're going. That's going to make a huge difference in my mind as to if I'm going to go or not. So where are you going, when are you going, and who you're going with? We're going to ask some questions about that. We're going to get all that information down. We're not going to give an answer yet. Hagai, H-G-A-I, is then the question you're going to ask yourself when you're not on the phone. How good am I? How good am I? And that's the serious sort of introspective conversation you have to have with yourself. So how good am I? It has its own little sub equation. How good am I depends on, if you are a man, this is the formula you'll use for determining your Hagai factor, and that is what you think divided by 3. So take how good you are and just have a realistic reassessment of that and say, we don't need to accelerate this. We don't need to get in a bad situation. It's really, really exciting. Zach wants me to go, but this is Nepal in the winter on an uncharted river. And yeah, I'm really, really good. I can do that. I'm going to divide that by 3. And I'm going to say, hey, Zach, I'll watch the videos with you, and I need to do a little more work on my own. Maybe I'll catch you next time. And then the second part of that is, if you're a woman, you can multiply how good you think you are by 2. I think that's a phenomenon that's in our.
Is this because you think men are overconfident in their abilities and women
absolutely,
are underconfident?
100%. Given it's a fact. You could look it up on the internet. And you will learn that that's a fact. But we won't go into that. That's not really the point of today's episode. The point of today's episode was introduce that acronym, and then you hang up the phone. You say, I'm going to call you back. Zach, thank you for inviting me. I'm going to call. Let me just think about this for a second. Let me check with my schedule. Let me look at my calendar. Let me look at my availability, see what other social engagements I have. I'm going to get back to you. And when you get back, I think there are some questions, some very, very gentle but leading questions you can ask to see if this is a situation you want to get yourself into. And the questions I would ask maybe in that first phone call would be, how many members of this group have been on this trip before? How often? And when was the last time they went? Like, if this is an exploratory trip, nobody's ever been there before, nobody's ever done it, completely different situation again than if it's Aaron inviting you on the Tuolumne because he just got off the Tuolumne today and he's been there all week and he wants you to come tomorrow and see it. Completely different situation. So I would ask those questions in that first phone call. And then I'd call Aaron back and I'd say, because I haven't boated with Aaron before, I'm still sort of getting to know him. I'm sniffing his butt as the dogs do, trying to figure out what kind of a relationship we're going to have. And these are the 3 questions I came up with that I think might be helpful. Hey, Aaron, I've never been down that river before, or I've never been in the lead boat on that river before. Will I be following someone? Like, how do you guys usually handle boat order? And I think that's a very gentle way to sort of introduce a concept that is, I think, standard amongst serious, experienced groups and boaters, but one that might not have occurred to other people. The green flag answer would be Aaron saying, oh, we're really deliberate about that, especially at the bigger rapids. We talk about it all the time. You can follow me, or we'll be able to follow another boat. And a red flag would be, what's boat order? Right? Like, I've never even heard of it. That might be a way to sort of get a sense of what you're getting involved in. Another one would be to ask about first aid, repair, or a rescue kit. Like, I think that, again, that's in that level of things where serious boaters, good boaters, people you want to go boating with a lot would have all of that stuff figured out. And it might be, I think it's hard for me to just come out and blatantly ask those kind of questions, like put people on the spot. And I don't think you get the honest answers when you do that. I think people get defensive. If you're questioning their judgment, they probably...
You can ask it in a way, Steve. You could just say, hey, like, oh yeah, hey, so how do you guys usually run with first aid? What would you need me to bring? What would you expect me to bring in terms of...
Exactly. That was it. Like, I have a really small first aid kit that I've been putting together over the last couple of years. Should I bring it? And if it's like, yeah, whatever, if you want, we don't really worry about that kind of thing. Red flag. If it's, sure, bring it. It'll supplement the kit that the emergency room nurse that comes on all of our trips has. Could be really helpful. Again, those are red flags, green flags. And then the last question would be more along the lines of, hey, if I have more questions about this as I get ready for the trip, who should I call? Who's the trip leader? And I think we're going to talk more about being a trip leader, having a trip leader, and if we have any more episodes. But if the person says, oh, it's Zach, and he's on the river right now, so you can't call him, but he'll be off next week. Here's his phone number. It's a green flag. If it's, we usually don't have a trip leader. Everybody just sort of goes on their own. For me, that would be maybe not a red flag, but more of a yellow flag, orange flag kind of thing. That's today's episode. Any questions?
I have questions. Is this just for overnight trips, or would you do this for a day trip too?
I think that I would do it for a day trip. Sure. I mean, if it was someone I really didn't know and had just met and we were just sort of getting things out and I was really trying to feel it out, I think I would ask these questions maybe on a little different level of intensity. And I might be more willing to accept a red or flag answer, right? Like, oh, okay, you don't really have a boat order, but for the day, I think I can live in that situation. Grand Canyon trip, don't have a boat order. I'm going to be probably uncomfortable for 2 weeks. Would you agree?
I would agree with that, but I think the thing I'm wondering about on the same topic is, what if you don't care about boat order or first aid gear? Some people don't care. Or are you making the point that, like, hey, these are things you should care about? Like, if
maybe so I'm sure that when you guys talked about how to be a good trip participant, these were hopefully things you emphasized, like, hey, you should be.
We emphasize different stuff. We emphasize don't be annoying, show up with your gear ready to go. And so, like, asking too many questions.
Don't be late. We were like, don't be late.
Like, if you want to talk to people a ton of times and all this stuff, you gotta really, like, balance that. Be efficient with that and not be annoying. Where they're like, dude, I don't have time for this, man. Like, like, you want to come, you don't. If you're not that comfortable, you shouldn't come.
So let's put this black and white. Try and make it really one way or the other. I show up late, but I'm really good about keeping boat order and being where I need to be on the river all day long, or I show up on time and I'm on my own thing when we're on the river together.
I want neither.
Yeah, no, neither is okay. But it's just like most people are. There are people who are bad on the river, but most people who want to join a group and want to boat with other people aren't looking for people to boat with. Aren't like, hey, I'm looking for some boat so I can go on my own. They're usually pretty good at that part. I feel like more often the problems lie with the second, the put in, take out, having their stuff organized, being ready to go, asking for help, and just be like, dude, we all took care of this at home beforehand. We came here ready, Yeah.
For me, late, sometimes even on a multi-day, but mostly on a day trip, I need to get home at some point. Like, I don't want to dedicate, we could have done this in half the time, and people that are showing up late, they're doing stuff. So that frustrates me personally, but that's definitely off topic. But that's what we talked about a lot. We talked about who you want to go with. This happens to me a lot where I'm like, hey, let's go boating at 11, and people show up at 11:10, and then take forever to get dressed, and then it's like 12:30. And then we get done, and
they get out with their coffee, start sipping their coffee.
Yeah, then we want
dressed, pumped up, and
I drove to put in. I usually drive to put in because I have a truck, and then at the end of the day, I'm just like waiting for a shuttle. Come on, guys, let's go.
Yeah.
They want to talk and chat.
Zach, you should just tell people to be there at 10:30.
I have a friend who I always tell 10 minutes before. Every time I tell him 10 minutes before.
Is that Dougie?
No, Dougie's pretty bad, but it's not Dougie. I have another question. How do we measure a guy? Is it like I'm a class 4 boater? How do you divide that by 3? No. When I want to say how good am I?
No, I think Steve's saying how ready you are to commit. Like how ready you are to commit, divide that by 3. Like your enthusiasm to go and oh yeah, I could go do that today. It's like divide that by 3, that feeling. Is that what you're saying, Steve? Kind of
ability. He's talking about ability levels.
Well, a little bit of it is facetious. No, it's how good you think you are.
As a boater.
How good you think you are. And I don't think there's a mechanism for any of us to measure someone else's ability or say, hey, you are this level, you're that level. I think it's a gray area and it's a conversation and whatnot. I think here's where I go to when I proposed that sort of facetious concept. And you, I think both of you will agree with this. You have been in situations, we have been on the river as professional guides and come upon private boaters or other commercial trips who shouldn't have been there. And they were in trouble. And there is a fear and a discomfort and a really, really scary sensation in being in that situation. My objective would be to just eliminate those or minimize the chances of those situations occurring. And the best way to do that is to not overestimate your ability. Everybody, I think, that's been in that situation that I've seen, not everybody, most of the people, a lot of people have been in that situation have overestimated their ability. They weren't good enough to be in that situation.
They've underestimated their ability, but they didn't also understand what they were getting into. Like they didn't check the flow, for example. They just came and did the South Fork. And last time they came in July, it was 1,000. And they're coming in April and it's 8,000. So I think some of it is not knowing their ability, but also not even knowing what they're getting into.
The WWW.
I think the part of that Steve is saying is in general, be cautious. Just for most people, be cautious.
But I would say, I think what Steve is saying, if you're a male, you need to be cautious. If you're a female, you're probably more competent than you give yourself credit for. Is that what?
I think that's again, semi-facetious, but semi-true observation.
And I think we've all seen that. Or just in general, you're trying to encourage, like when we've managed, or you're trying to encourage these women to guide the harder rivers, and like, I'm not ready. And then you got the guy who's been there a week who's like, oh, I'm ready to lead the class 4 trip. And you're like, no. You're not even ready to guide the easy river. Dude, you got so much to learn. And so I think, I know what Steve's referring to there, and you see it so much through, so often. That is true. Yeah, I think I'm going to say, I think it's a great idea to have a conversation if you do get invited. Ali Greco did this to me the first time she was going to come down on one of our high water Tuolumne training trip we did, Steve, at $7,000. She actually interrogated me and I didn't even know who she was. I was like, wait, she's like, who are you? How much experience do you have? Have you done this before, these flows? She started asking all these questions and she's like, I'm not trying to be offensive. I just want to make sure that, this is a high water Tuolumne trip and it's a serious thing. And I'm like, I was laughing. I was like, no, these are great questions. And like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make you feel comfortable coming with me, but this is the plan. This is what we're doing. I've worked up here for many years, done it a lot of times. I think we'll be okay, but
and I think when you stepped back from that conversation and in that moment of feeling like you were interrogated, it was probably very comforting to think, oh, I'm going to go boating with someone who.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh, this person I want to go on the water with. Yeah. I think that's also too, if you just say, it's like, hey, I'm a little nervous about this. I haven't done this run before, or I'm a little nervous. I've done this run before with some people who shouldn't have been out there. Forgive me. I just want to ask some questions and make sure we're on the same page.
Yep.
I think most people are going to get that. And if they don't get it and they get insulted by it and take it personally, probably not people you want to boat with, right?
That's yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see your big picture, all of it. Totally on board with.
I think what's really hard is the Hagai, because I think people don't know where they stand. Like they just don't know. Like they don't have like, am I a class 3 boater? Am I a class 4 boater? If I'm a class 3 boater, can I do class 3 at high water? Nobody's telling them where they stand, so they have to self-evaluate.
Oh, I think we've discussed it too, and I think if you can catch every eddy in a class 2 rapid, you're ready to go to class 3. If you're able to catch every eddy in a class 3 rapid, and you're like, dude, I want to go over here, and you're looking for different lines, and they're going well, and you're like, hey, I'm going to go over here today. I'm going to try to run it like that. Then you're probably ready for class 4. I feel like in my mind, like if you can catch all the eddies, you can make ferries within that, then you're ready to
So what I hear you saying is you need to style a class 3 run before you're ready to go to class 4, not just like get down it.
No, yeah, you got to be like, I don't want to say it's boring for you, but you're making it more challenging. You're not just like doing the easy. You're like, oh, I'm going to go like this and do this. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to catch that eddy. Then I'm going to ferry across over here. Oh, I haven't tried going over there before. I wonder if I can go down there and catch this eddy in the middle and let my friends come by and then I'll pull out afterwards or something like that. Just not just getting down, not being the log. Yeah, I made it to the boat. Because most people can get, people without the skills can get down to class 0, but to stop and break it down, that's what you need for class 4 is to be able to get yourself out of the current.
I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, and I'm going to disagree with the class 3, class 4, class 5 concept because it's not. I mean, it's a continuum, right? It's not a stair step.
But that's what we have.
It's a
like
ramp.
Like when you look for a way to label, like, hey, how good am I? The only thing we have, I mean, but it's not a stair because it can be like class 1 minus, 1 plus, 2 minus, 2 plus. There is some more than just like 5 stair steps, but it's all we have. I'm a class 3 boater. What can I go do?
So, okay. Or when are you ready to go for, I've run the South Fork a bunch of times now of the American, and I want to go do something harder. What is it? And how do I know when I'm ready to go?
Yeah. What's the next step up from the South Fork? Not like how do I go to a book and learn what the next thing to push myself a little bit is? Or if
how do I know when I'm ready to go out there and try it?
Or if my friends invite me on, let's say on the Tuolumne, and I look in a book, how do I know I'm HG? How good am I? Am I that good? How do you know you're that good?
You know you're that good because you can say, I've run the South Fork of the American 10 times without ever being out of control. Or I've run the North Fork of the American 10 times without ever being out of control. I've run the Rogue 10 times without ever being out of control, without being able to maintain control all the way through that. Where do I go? What's that next step from there? And I think what Aaron talked about was that ability to break down rapids into smaller pieces and the ability to, I mean, there's a difference, and you've seen this too, when you've taught whitewater schools or taught people how to row. People will get through a rapid, they'll float through a rapid, they'll come out the bottom and they'll think, yeah, that was a good run. I had a successful run. But they weren't where they wanted to be.
that's where I'm stuck on this a little bit because they think they were successful. And I look back and I was like, oh man, they barely got down that. And they go, how'd that go? Oh, I crushed it. I did everything right. I see it kayaking a lot. Like people think they're really good kayakers and they flip in the middle of rapids. And I'm like, oh, you need to slow down. Like you're not ready for the next step.
Exactly. I don't know that you have that. I don't know where that obligation rests on a private trip or in the non-commercial community. When I was teaching your rowing schools for you, I was very clear that I was not going to tolerate that. I was not going to abide that. I was going to call that out. And there are people who I'm sure didn't appreciate me calling out, but I don't think that's the way. I think you become complacent.
What were we going to call back? What were we going to call out? I don't understand. You would call out people who thought they styled it and didn't.
Yeah. Like I know you wanted to go to the left of that rock and you went over that rock and it didn't matter because the rock was not a big deal. And you're like, yeah, man, that was a good run. And I'm like, no, that wasn't a good run.
I think people do that a lot. They want their peers to like them. So they do a run and they obviously make a mistake and they're like, oh, I crushed that. I did really well. I'm like, dude, I saw that. You did not crush that. But it's hard to have that talk.
In that moment, when I see that happening, when I see people doing that, I am an asshole. Like that is when I become unfriendly.
Like, what does this look like? Are you frowning? Are you trying?
Yeah, Zach. Hey, Steve, do it to us. Like pretend Zach or I just did it. What does it look like?
I walk away. I get frustrated. I stop communicating with that person. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm not good at saying, hey, maybe we should think about that. I don't know unless someone hired me to do that, then I'm comfortable doing it. But
I mean, that's one thing I think when you're there as an instructor and you're being paid to give them that feedback, you have a responsibility to do it and you do it whether people are mad at you or not.
Yeah.
Like when I'm out boating on the weekend with some friends, do I really want to be that guy? Like I don't want to be that guy. I just want to go boating and have fun. I see things that didn't make me happy. Is it really my job to say, hey, come here, let's talk? You really shouldn't have been out today. You don't have the skills to be here.
Yeah, it's your job.
It is?
Yep.
But I'm out having fun. I'm not at work. I'm just like boating with friends.
I want you to do that for me. I want you to come up to me during the trip or after the trip and say,
you want that.
Yeah.
And well, everyone says they, Steve, everyone
I'd
says
rather you did it in that moment. What's that?
Everyone says they want feedback until they get feedback. They don't really want feedback. They just want to think they're open to feedback. Most people.
I agree. I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
And that's
like everyone wants to feel like, yeah, I'm good at taking feedback. Yeah, we all think we're better probably than we are. But I mean, and I think you do sincerely want to know and be told that. But I think, Steve, you're also in a different spot where you've been on trips where you've hurt people, what I mean, people have been hurting your boat. And like, once you've been there to that spot, you don't want to go back there. No,
I think we have video. I think in my introduction, there's actual visual proof of me hurting people. So yeah. No, I don't want to go back there.
It's just a hurting you. We didn't hurt them, but like as a consequence of guiding the raft, someone got hurt and you're like, that sucks. I want to minimize that. I don't want to put it first. I don't want to put other people in jeopardy. I don't want to put myself in unnecessary risk. So
I think Mark just made that. This is Mark Rivers, a PT, a DPT, a badass. And I think he brings up a good question or a good thing to think about. And it's kind of on the lines of what I was just asking about. Is it the responsibility of the person who's more experienced to pull people aside and say, hey, you need to work on this? Or is the responsibility of the new learning person to approach the more experienced people and say, hey, can you evaluate me? How can I improve?
Good leaders can do the first and good followers will do the second. And a very, very small percentage of people are good leaders or good followers. So most people are not going to do either of those things. But I think if we were making a list of good leadership qualities, the ability to do that, the willingness to do that, knowing how to do that would be something we would all wish we could do, wish we had done more of. That's my opinion.
It's really hard. It's so hard. It's private boating. It's really hard.
I'm going to agree with Mark's comment that it's helpful to get feedback from other people, but also I think you need to have internal feedback to know and like we talked about, learning to catch those eddies and practicing that and building those skills. There's a process to it where you need to be able to self-assess. Like, I mean, that's a key component of life. You need to know what you can and can't run, what you have the ability to do and not be able to do, and you need to be able to know that based upon your previous experience. So I think that's an important part of river running. You can't just rely on other people to tell you, yeah, you're ready. That puts unfair responsibility on others. I remember with Thad, when we were backcountry skiing in Wyoming, he's like, I don't like to take people in the backcountry who don't understand the risks and don't know how to assess them for themselves. I do not want that responsibility. I don't think that's fair. And I think there's something to be said for that. Well, I think you can ask people for feedback. Hey, do you think I'm ready? What do you think I need to work on? And at the end of the day, you've got to make the decision. And you got, and the part of that is maybe going on a trip before and seeing the river once before you row it, and then I think there's other things you can do to set yourself for success. But I agree with Mark. It's helpful to have that, but that's like putting the responsibility on somebody else too, which I don't think that.
I disagree. I think when you don't ask for feedback, you're putting the responsibility on for people to approach you with feedback. Like what Mark's saying is,
Mark's
saying is like he's gone. Like if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Zach, I respect you as a boater. I'd love to hear what you think of where I'm at and what I can do to improve." I'd be like, "Awesome, this is a fun conversation." When I'm watching a friend and they're pushing themselves beyond where they should be, I dread that discussion. Because I have to find them when they're alone. I can't just do it in front of people. And I have to say, hey, I've been meaning to talk to you about this. And then I have to have the confidence that I am that person to them. Like they may think I'm a doofus. And so it's like, as a doofus, I'm coming to them and they're just like, who the hell do you think you are telling me this?
But I think there's ways. I can
understand why you have that thought. So.
Yeah, there's ways to do it that are more subtle, though. I think there's
absolutely
there's like casual pokes every so often on the there's casual pokes, and then there's the sit down like, hey, dude, come on.
Well, I think there's the sit down, but there's also I think you're flipping over a lot in rapids, man. I'm getting nervous. Like I'm not real comfortable, and I don't want to boat with you when you do like this. Like let's go work on some stuff on some easier rivers together. I think there's that conversation is to be like, hey, we need to work on some stuff because something bad's going to happen here at some point. You keep running rapids in this manner, like you are getting down it, but you notice no one else in the group's flipping over like you're flipping over. And this isn't the way you get better, is just charging it. That's one way to do it, but there's also a way with a high level of risk, and there's a way we can do it with a little bit less risk. And I like paddling. If it's someone like Zach, if I'm like, hey, I like paddling with you, Zach, but let's go run some class 3 and let's go work on our skills on there and see if we can get our skills stronger. I think there's a way to do it that's nice, where you care about someone versus telling them they suck and they shouldn't be out there and they don't belong. I'm just saying that's a hard position to be in. As somebody, like, I feel like I'm in this position a lot, and it also could be me being I've just seen so many people like get into boating, charge hard, have an accident, and stop boating. Right. And I'm also pretty conservative at now. I don't want to go out there and be doing class 5 all the time. So like, also there's a little bit of my ego who, like, the younger boaters getting into it, if they get better than me, like, it kind of hurts my ego. So I want to slow them down, be like, hey, no, don't get better than me. You should stay on class 3. Cause I feel like that happened to me when I was running the boat. People were like, no, don't do class 4. You're not ready. Right. And I feel like it's a tough line to walk.
But Zach, maybe those people saying don't do class 4 yet, you're not ready, is why you're still where you are. Like maybe it's why you got to class 4 and got to class 5 and got to the highest end of.
Because I slowly moved because they said, hey, slow down. Yeah, I think, it could be, but I think it's a really hard thing to do. I'm just saying I find myself in this position a lot and maybe I don't have the ability to do it well, but it's not fun.
So Zach, if I'm not ready, you don't want to. So does that mean you don't want to go on the river with them? What does it mean on those runs?
On the
if it's a run for me, if it's a run where I'm like, whatever, I'm in my kayak, I'm flipping over 2 or 3 times each rapid. I nail my rolls because I'm really good at rolling.
Yeah.
And do you keep inviting me to go?
Yeah, on that run where I feel like it's okay to flip here and there, but not the next step up. I'm just like, I won't even. Right, like there's like flipping here. There, like let's use the rafting for example. Like you're rafting down rapids, and you're making the rapids, but you're not styling it. Right. I'll keep doing that run with somebody, but if they're like, hey, let's now go do something harder, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Can't you say it's like, if you want to do something harder, I'll do it with you, but you can't be bouncing rocks on this run. When you're not bouncing rocks, let's go. We'll do something harder. I'll go do something hard with you.
Here's a
hard conversation.
Yes, hard conversations. Absolutely. We're not, but we can't just say, oh, it's a hard conversation, so we're not going to discuss it. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to say we just never have hard conversations just because they're hard. Like, let's not just dismiss it at that point. But here would be the pathway that I could see happening if I was in that situation with someone who overestimated their abilities, took risks on the river that I really wasn't comfortable with, and I started doing my shutdown, just survive this day, survive this trip mode, and then dismiss this person from my boating friends. What would change that would be if that person came to me at some point and said, how can I get better? How did I do out there? Did I make you feel uncomfortable? Like if they opened up that door, I think I would.
That's fun.
That.
That's really fun. When you're seen as as a advisor, or seen as like somebody who they look up to and you can provide help to. That's really fun. It's really hard when they haven't approached you. You have to approach them. That's really hard.
I agree.
It's hard. It's hard to be motivated to do it. When you're at work, it's not. It's your job. It's fine. But when it's like your leisure time, it's really hard to say, hey, you feel like you're at work during your leisure time. It's really hard on, I think, private boating to. I'm not saying it should be done.
Zach, it might be because you do it as a job all the time,
and you don't want to do it on your day off when you're out.
No, it's not that. You don't like. You want to have friends, right? You don't want to have people who are like their mentor all the time. You want to go hang out with people that you like hanging out with. You don't want to put yourself in that role during leisure time. And then they might be like, oh man, he's always not talk to me about how I'm boating, and they'll stop boating with me. Like if we're cat boating the wind and somebody flips, and they were just out of control, a takeout. Should I go up to them and be like, you shouldn't come back? If I'm thinking that they should not come back.
That's not what you.
No, Zach, you're supposed to say you suck. I don't ever want to see your stupid face again out here. Go back to the Clackamas.
I
mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Put a big sticker on the forehead, Clackamas only. A little stamp.
Zach wants to classify every boater, class 2, class 3, these checkbox of rivers.
I don't want to classify them, but I think people want to quantify Hagami.
Hagai. Yes.
Hagai. Sorry, Hagai.
It's hard to do. But it seems like this scenario, this moment, this dynamic of how do you deal with people who are boating who are, what do you call it? Boating irresponsibly or overestimating their abilities might be another episode.
Yeah. We've almost it's taken over.
I thought this might happen. That's why I want to get to this one early.
So maybe. Yeah. We'll go on to whatever our next topic is. I'm gonna come up with some questions or ways to maybe make Zach feel more comfortable coming up to me above Clavey Falls when I've been just trashing the whole.
I would never do that. Like I look up to you too much. I would never once in my life go to you and say, no matter I felt it or not, be like, Steve.
Okay, then a theoretical.
I couldn't do it to you. It'd have to be somebody else.
Someone else who clearly was in over their head and unaware of that, ignorant of that. Are there ways? What can we do to get them to open up to being receptive to what you are trying to do, which is to help them?
I'll tell you how happens in the real world. Is that everybody talks shit about this person behind their back, and nobody. ever approaches them. Everybody back in the guide house is like, "Oh, dude, did you see Steve?"
And then if somebody does actually talk to him about it, the person
They're the bad
hates
guy.
that person.
They're the bad guy.
The person who actually cares enough to say something, they hate that person.
Yep. That's what I don't want to be. I don't want to be the bad guy. At work, I'm used to it. But on my leisure time, I don't want to be the bad guy.
Let's see if we can find out ways for you to do it without being the bad guy.
Okay. All right. Let's go through some comments real fast. And see if we can answer them. But still, where's the person with acceptable ability and but still getting experience fit in?
I think
where do they fit in?
That's the Who. I think that's where the Who and the WWW really makes a difference. That person, acceptable ability, still gaining experience, fits in really well in the 3rd, 4th, 5th boat in a boat order.
Yeah, I think I'm really about the team. Like when I want to go boating, I'm like, if I'm going to go do a class 4 river with some people I know and don't know, I like one more person with me that can handle an emergency. Somebody who's 100% solid on the river and can deal with an emergency. I don't want to be the only one. So I'm like, who's my other ringer? And then how can the 2 of us keep eyes on everybody? And we'll keep control. We'll like keep an eye on the 3 other people. And if they're all super weak, no. But if they're like medium and one person's weak, or I want to know the level of everybody, but have another ringer around at least. I think about that a lot. Okay, a solid group of private boaters should have a set standard for how feedback should be shared. I mean, this is ideal, but nobody does this. Right?
I mean,
this is like, Mike, I agree this is a good idea, but I feel like a lot of what we're talking about a little bit is la la land that nobody lives in. Nobody lives in the land where like.
I definitely, I think there's ways to do it that are subtle. If you're boating with the same group of people, before you run a new river or something like that, you just chat, beforehand. Let's chat for a second, just what plan for the day, and then that's where you can say, hey, last time this happened, there's something we can do so it doesn't happen this time. I think at the end of the day, that's a terrible time to give negative feedback. I think that's just it's like the end after a game. After
when should you get negative feedback?
No, not after the game. Not after the
During
game.
During the
game? After the game, particularly a game you lost.
During the game?
No. Well,
a week later?
During the game, if it's important for the remainder of the game, yeah. But I think before the game or practicing is better. So, hey, let's go out. Let's do it this way this time. What do you think about doing it this way this time? Or doing this? Or, hey, if this happens, let's try to handle it. Maybe we can try to handle it this time. What do you guys think? I think it depends on the situation. But in general, I avoid at the end giving that type of feedback. Like in particular, if I'm going to go out with them again, if it's not necessary, then I wouldn't say anything. I'd wait till next time. Be like, hey, last time, remember when Zach flipped? He took a long swim. Maybe on this trip we can work on having a tighter boat spacing to prevent that from happening. So it makes it into a pause of something to work on instead of at the end of the trip it's something that sucked that needed to be different the last time. If that makes sense.
So if somebody goes on a trip and they make a mistake and they flip, I'm going to just stop boating. I mean, I accept flips, but if they're just like dummies, I'll just stop boating with them. Yeah,
but there's things you want to see subtle improvement, right? You even with, like if we're boating together, you'd be like, hey, Aaron, last time, can we try it this time at that portage? Can we try this instead? I think it'll be safer. Okay, cool.
So hard to do.
Instead of, Aaron, hey, last time you were a dumbass and you totally exposed yourself more than you needed to.
I identify with this a lot. Like I go out private boating a lot and I end up being at work.
End up being what?
I end up being at work. Like I'm basically guiding. I go private boating and I just end up, I'm being a guide.
That's because you love it, Zach.
I do.
You love that responsibility. You love being in charge.
I do enjoy it. But sometimes I just want to go out and have fun and goof off and not be in charge.
But then you'd be upset if you were just like, then you would, if no one asked what you thought, you'd be upset about that too.
Next comment. The boater will be able to discuss feedback, and they should always be self-assessing. I think there's a lot of ideals here, but so many people aren't. I think a lot of people don't want feedback.
Well, I think there's a group of people who are very content to just run the rivers they run. Get scope and run the rogue every year, but then there's people who want to run harder and harder rivers. And I think, those are the people that I think the three of us have been drawn to over the years, is those type of people who want to continue to progress their skills.
Look for good mentors so you can have these conversations. I agree with that. The other thing that Jared pointed out, I think was back 2 comments ago, connect the dots.
I didn't get that part. What does that mean? We don't hit lines, we connect the dots.
I think that's beautiful. I'd never thought of it that way. I think that's what Aaron was talking about. So the difference between getting through a rapid and connecting the dots in a rapid. There's 5 dots in this rapid that I want to hit in order to get from point A to point B. I'm going to hit every one of those dots. I'm going to connect each one of the dots. If I can connect the dots through Meat Grinder on the South Fork of the American every single time, this dot, that dot, next dot, I'm ready to move on. If I'm just sort of getting close to the dot or drawing this line that sort of weaves its way close to the dots through the rapid, and I skip that dot because there was no way I was going to get to it, that's not, don't accept that in yourself.
Makes sense. I like that. I skipped this. I went through this comment pretty fast because I didn't understand that. I like that. Makes a lot of sense.
That's a good move. Yeah.
It's like,
well, you're the moderator of the show.
Aaron can moderate too. Aaron has admins.
Yeah.
Should the Clackamas sticker say go back to the Clackamas?
No, it's for, I think it's, yeah.
Clackamas only.
Clackamas only.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good.
You get a ceremony where you get it torn off.
Maybe with a line through class 4 or something like that, like no class 4.
I'm not going to do that. Connecting. Yeah, Blossom Bar is a great one for this. Is a great comment. If somebody feels they need more experience than somebody does, but thinks, I think I like both people who are like of humble and learning and just a little bit wary, like a little bit nervous, like not nervous, but like they're boating well within their boating level. And when they're like you can push it when you're surrounded by a few good people around you, but you can't push it when you're the best person there.
Yeah, but
so when I go boating, sometimes like when I'm with another, like we were talking earlier about like having another person with me that can handle a rescue that is kind of in control. And that role, I take on the job as a guide and like looking out for people. But then when I were to go do something that challenges me, I can't go with that same crew. Like I need to be in the middle 3 and have a couple of people around that can provide that support.
Yeah, I when I was younger, I felt like that's how you'd improve. You had to go out and push yourself with like running harder, more challenging runs. And I think the more challenge, as I've gotten older, I feel like the more challenging runs came when I look back as I was ready for them, as I gained the skills at the level below. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I've talked about it like with teaching skiing in Jackson, where, hey, everyone learns to do their hockey stops and they're skiing, they're skiing parallel on the little greens, and then we go up high and we have a great time and everyone knows how to use those skills and apply them. But there's other people like, oh, to teach the kid to do harder runs, you just have to get him up there, and then they have to figure out how to ski that. And it's like, that doesn't work well. And I don't think that works well for boating either. I think you're much better off staying like a half level below your limit, and you can build and still always be at like a half level below your limit. And that's how you stay in a good zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but when you're learning, you don't always know what your limit is. And you're always wondering if it's higher. And you also don't know what run to do next because you don't know enough. Like we can look back and I can say, oh, the next run you can do is this, and that. When you're learning, you just know the Clackamas. You're like, what's next? Like you don't know the world of boating out there. You now, Aaron, if somebody says, I'm a South Fork boater, I want to get better, you'd be like, go to the Kern, go to the Merced, go to the Upper Sac. You know where to send them. They don't have that information in front of them. Their friends are just saying the Illinois is where it's at. Like
No, but I'll say also, I feel like most people here aren't 18 or 19. And I think when you're 18 or 19, you're just so dumb. You're just like, I mean, that's why they give us guns and have us go fight wars, because we're just like, oh, yeah, I can do it. I can do anything.
Well, we took a little turn there.
No, but it is like we'll do dumb stuff, and we'll take a lot of risks as you get a little bit older. Like as I approach new activities now, like I'm working on surfing, I'm not just throwing myself into huge ass waves. I'm just incrementally working my way, and I'm usually pretty much in my comfort zone, but I'm doing harder, more challenging stuff without that much exposure.
All right, I have one.
20, I would have handled it totally different.
I have my final comment.
Okay.
Connecting the dots. I think as you get better, you start picking harder dots in the same place.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And and when you can start hitting those dots, and there are no dots left that are any harder.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So,
then you're ready for the next. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of on the same topic, I have one thing I want to finish this up with is people ask me all the time, am I ready to row the Illinois? Like, can I row the Illinois? What do people need to do to get ready to row the Illinois?
The Tuolumne.
The Tuolumne is easier than the Illinois?
So I think that it's similar and more accessible and more easier to access for the.
If you live in California.
Or it's runnable all summer long.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
You're not going in such extreme conditions. There's more knowledge about it. There's more information out there. There's more people with knowledge about running it.
Okay, the Tuolumne, do it just once. Like what? Not like. What if you just you go to California, you do the Tuolumne, can you then do the Illinois, or do you have to do it well? Or
I would say this. I would say you could go from the South Fork of the American straight to the Illinois.
Whoa.
I think you could do that if you really worked the South Fork.
And if you were following someone on the Illinois.
Yeah, and you're following someone. Not going first, but yeah, I mean.
Huge difference.
I think you could. I think you could. I mean, I feel like, Zach, for both of us, that's what happened is we guided a summer on the South Fork. That's when we got good. Like, we got way better guiding the South Fork.
I got way better on the Tuolumne. I did a season on the South Fork and then went to the Tuolumne after that. And then that's where I got.
Yeah, but Zach, you were ready for the Tuolumne because of that season on the South Fork. If you hadn't had that season on the South Fork, you would not have been ready.
Of course, I'd have no experience. I wouldn't be ready for sure.
Yeah, but I think the South Fork and levels like that are a solid class 3, or you can be like, oh, I can catch, like Steve said, you can connect the dots. You can catch like 50. How many eddies can you catch in meet under? How many eddies can you catch in the shot pit? How many different ways can you
let's bring this into it, because the Rogue and the Illinois are right next to each other. I think that the leap from the Rogue to the Illinois is very, very difficult. I don't think you can get good enough on the Rogue to be able to make that jump to the Illinois. It's unfortunate. People do it. I'm not saying you can't. I think that's a big jump that you're going from. You can be at the top of your game on the Rogue, connect every single dot, and go to the Illinois, and you are going to be in a less than ideal situation, my opinion. So I think finding that intermediary opportunity is the one, and that's, for me, the Tuolumne would be a logical place to do that.
Okay. What about the Umpqua, North Umpqua?
I don't know enough about it. I was wondering about that. Is there another river in Oregon where you could?
I mean, there's like the Upper Klamath is class 4. I could go into this river. I'm just wanting to get your answer because I get this question a lot and wanted to get more.
But I think the North Umpqua is an equivalent of the South Fork, because you're right. The Rogue, you don't get enough rapids. It's too open. There's not. You could on the Rogue work on it and try to catch eddies everywhere.
I think the jump from the South Fork or Umpqua to Illinois is a large jump. It's a very large jump. If you were doing it every day all summer and styling it and wanted to go challenge yourself, maybe. But it's a big jump. I would do something similar, like the Tuolumne, Wind, Upper Klamath, a few times. Develop that skill set.
Would you think the North Fork of the American would be good training for the
better than the South Fork? Yeah.
Do you think the North Fork is harder than Illinois?
Yes.
Is the North Fork? Well, nothing in North Fork's harder than Greenwall. But Bogus is messy. Staircase is messy.
I think North Fork would be a great one, actually. And like if you could do that well and catch eddies in that and beast, you'd be fine.
But even the step, you're not going to go from the Rogue to the North Fork of the American. I don't think. I think there's
no. Well, the Rogue is not a good training ground. The Rogue's a great training ground for learning how to do multi-day trips. It's not a great training ground to run technical whitewater.
How dare you? All right, let's move on.
We got
this one. Aaron, Steve. We have Aaron's trivia question, but thank you, Steve, for the great first episode of the Mental Angle with Steve Welch.
First and last, maybe.
It's not hopefully not the last. We open up a lot of can of worms. We have a new member. Thank you, Caribou Precision, for being a member. And on that topic, members can win a prize. Only members. If you can guess what this rapid is, you can win one of these books. Whitewater and Safety and Rescue with Franco Ferraro. Great book. You can win Rivers of Oregon by Tim Palmer. You can choose the book.
Show those books again, Zach. We couldn't see you. Show those books again.
Impassable Canyon about the Middle Fork. Rivers of Oregon by Tim Palmer. Franco Ferraro's Whitewater Safety and Rescue. Or Rivers of California by Tim Palmer. You can win one of these books. Somebody took the Keanu Reeves Point Break photo, so that's gone. You have to guess this rapid. You can guess the rapid, you win for sure. If you guess the river, you'll win unless somebody guesses the rapid. And that's
we already got some guesses. Nope.
Decent guess, but incorrect. That's a guess. It's incorrect. That is a rapid, but it's not correct. That's a very good guess. So we can come back to this. You guys ready to move on to another topic while we get some things?
You got a disco going on in the back of your studio.
It's kind of. It's complicated. That's a guess, but it's not correct. Okay. I am going to share with you guys a photo first. So we had a viewer send in some photos of me getting stuck from remember last week?
Oh yeah.
And of me getting stuck at Tappan Falls. This is me getting stuck. And he also sent in a photo, before we get to all this, of a member of their crew getting stuck over there on the right side. That year it got below 1.5. People were accidentally going over there. There's a sweep boat over there, all the way on the right as well. That took like 3 different Z rigs to pull out. That far right side messed up a lot.
Is that intentional?
No, that's trying to make the line right here, and then it just draws you over. So people were trying to. It's really tricky at that level. I mean, the sweep boat messed up and went over there, and they have a really good view. Like you basically right there are super stuck.
Yeah, and it looks like you're gonna get stuck again.
So to follow up, I have video of my getting stuck that I thought I'd share with you guys. Got to turn the music down though. So this is the guy who took photos of us. We're seeing them downstream. Does that make sense?
Yep. You're
same stock, same day.
Hey, Zach.
Tappan. Yeah.
At this point, can you stop?
Yeah.
No, not the video.
Oh, can I stop the sweep? Yeah. Do you notice how we just did, like, we were looking down, we see the boats?
Yep.
And we're like, what's going on? We're making sure it's clear. If we had to pull over, we still could pull over.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gone down if I would have been worried about a boat stuck in there. That would have been pretty nasty.
The commitment in a sweep boat is a lot different than the commitment in any other kind of raft.
Because right now I could get over still, but it'd be hard. I'd have to pull over really hard and Brody'd have to jump out. But now I can't. At this point, I'm committed. There's no, like, we're in a raft or a kayak, I can still eddy out at this
Yeah.
point. And so it's really deceiving. Like right there, it wants to draw you over that right side where the other sweep got stuck, which I was super scared because I saw photos of it, and the other boat got stuck. But it's a narrow channel, and there we are.
And you wanted to be 2 feet to your left?
Now I did, yeah.
No, I mean when you hit that, I mean that was the line was 2 feet.
I mean, maybe. I mean, you're right on a rock there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a narrow line, and then we're basically stuck here for a while. So you can see that group. I don't know if you can see down there below the rock. They're all watching and saying hi. Usually, when you're stuck like this, you can just pull really hard on the sweep arms, like I was just doing. Like you can just yard on it and move weight around. Like usually that will get you off of something like this. But it's exhausting. So at this point, I'm losing my breath.
This doesn't look like fun.
No, this isn't fun. When you get stuck in a...
What happens if you let go of that rear sweep right now?
It would... water would catch it and it would go against the boat, like immediately.
And break? Would it snap it?
No, this one wouldn't snap, but it would be... Bad. It would just go sideways and I'd have to go get it.
You can't let go.
I can't let go, yeah. So I'm going to... If I see I'm holding it, at some point when I want to let go, I can tie... See, my foot's on the front sweep too.
So you're what?
I can't let go of the front sweep either. I had my foot on the front sweep. If you go back.
You can't let...
Oh, no, wait. Brody's holding the front sweep, and then we switch. So, like, I can't let go of either sweep.
What if you let go of it? What would happen?
It would start flapping around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The back one would just... Water would catch it, would just go, like... It would go perpendicular to the current.
That seems bad.
Yeah, the front one would start just doing odd stuff and maybe smack somebody in the head. So you have to have a hold. And right now I'm having Birdie let air out of the boat. They go up there and let some air out of the tubes. Like let's let a little bit of air out and see if that whole strategy.
Kind of like during a wrap.
Kind of. You're so proud of yourself right now, Aaron.
You went to tube deflation before lines.
You know what's funny in those situations? The situation you're in right now, you can see from this video and you can feel it when you're in the boat. Your boat is moving enough. There's a difference between this feeling that you have of like, okay, there's still a little bit of wiggle in here, and that other feeling that it can go to where, crap. Like there's no movement at all. This little bit of movement, this half inch, quarter inch at a time is...
I let go of the back. Oh, there we go. So see, I tied up the front sweep.
Yep.
So we could like look around. Yeah, I mean, I know that we're gonna get unstuck. I know there's a solution. The question is, how long will it take?
Right.
Like, how stuck are we? Let's take our time and not do anything stupid. Do you see how there's those little straps for the sweeps though? So when I don't want to hold the back one,
yeah, it's
there's a little strap down there just to kind of keep it from messing around.
We'll have to do another episode on your footwear.
Yeah.
Like it's good or what? It's fashionable?
I'm just wondering if like
making fun of it.
If you had lost a bet or something.
No, those are sweet shoes. You mean because they're bright?
Do you still have those?
I do. They actually squeak when you walk now because it's a long story. So I don't wear them anymore because if they're dry, they probably don't. But they squeak when you walk, so I stopped wearing them on the river.
This is a pretty good progression of getting unstuck, right?
Yeah.
And as safe as place of any for somebody to be out of the boat and pushing. Like the boat's not going to swing on top of you. You're not going to get sucked under the boat from there, I don't think.
Probably
What's
not.
What's your buddy's name?
Brody. It's a little slippery, but yeah, it's probably fine.
Yeah, but if he falls in, he's going to swim the rapid. He's not going to get stuck under the sweep boat.
Yeah. Unless he falls off right when a boat comes out. But you're very careful about that. You're like, oh man, I want to be ready to jump in as soon as this thing goes. He's not in a dangerous spot unless, yeah. I love those. Those shoes, by the way, they have mesh.
So Zach, if you were by yourself, what would you do?
Move more tube deflation and move gear.
Would you ever get out of the boat like Brody is if you're by yourself?
Yeah, but not here. I have been by myself for sure. Here I would, because as soon as it came off, I don't know. I might. God, would I get it out?
Can you self-rescue into a sweep boat?
Yeah, but it's really hard. So now there's a valve under there. We undid the table to get to the valve under the table to let air out of that tube right there. You can self-rescue in a sweep boat, but it's not. It's a little harder. But you wouldn't want to fall out.
Yeah,
I'm surprised more people don't get hurt running sweep boats.
Because I mean, the most dangerous thing is the arms. Like, the thing that I'm scared about is doing something where the arm hits you or the other person in the boat.
I worry about just pulling over by yourself and trying to tie the boat off to shore.
It could be bad. It could it depends on. I mean, when you're learning how to catch the camps, somebody has to run it can be dangerous. Like Ship Island can be really tough. You have to jump out of the boat while it's moving and anchor yourself in the rocks. I'm just guessing. We're just a little letting air out, just like a little bit of time. Like, let's let some out and see if that works. Let's let some out and see if that works. You don't want to let too much out because we can't pump it up. We can pump it up, but we're not going to. Like
ever like on this trip?
No, at camp.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm not going to pump it up after this. So before camp. So I don't want to let too much out because I have to deal with a floppy boat.
From what I've watched, it looks like you have made zero progress.
Letting air out is progress.
It was
the boat hasn't moved, but I feel like we think it's almost going to move
more than you did when you first got stuck. Like, do you feel like you're making progress in that boat right now?
It feels like it just feels like it wants to go. Like, I think I remember thinking like, it's like it kind of wanted to go.
What if you take that rear sweep and just really angle it? Can you move the back of your boat?
Yeah, but not where we're at because the current's moving too fast. As soon as that sweep catches current, it's gonna be a mess. Like right now, the back sweep's not gonna help much.
There it goes.
That's what's gonna help. Oh yeah, muscle, dude.
Well, was it your muscle or getting the weight out of the boat, Zach? What do you think?
Oh, you call me fat, Aaron?
You're bigger than Brody.
Are you strong or are you fat?
You're a lot bigger than Brody. That's why I was asking about getting both of you out of the boat from the beginning, because I was like, oh, their weight would be out.
See where his feet are? He's not really like getting it, like he's not pushing it to the left. I think like it's really hard to push it from right there.
So where'd you push it from?
Okay, Zach, is it the fact that you went out there and pushed, or the time that you went out there and pushed?
Yeah, are you saying, Steve, that he waited for Brody to do all the work and then he jumped out?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, it's almost off. Let me jump out so I can have the video of this and watch it.
And be honest, there's a difference, and you would know if there's a difference if you were just lucky when you stepped out there. If it was like, no, man, I moved the boat. It needed to get moved. I know what it feels like.
Where I put my feet
here.
Yeah, you went down lower. Yeah, you got more purchase. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So
I think that's a classic where people, a lot of times it's better to get your body a little lower in the water so you can get your hip underneath it. You can get your body into it a little bit more versus when it's below you're trying to lift up with your arms.
Getting stuck in rock garden 50 times.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
And then running a sweep for so many years and having done this so many times, I just know sometimes where to push and like how to get the most force on it just from doing it a lot of times.
And you're probably sort of pissed off when you have that extra piss energy of like, I just want to get out of here.
We are. So at this point, like I wasn't in a rush. Like let's take our time. Let's do it slow. The things that would rush me is if our trip was right behind us, because I do not want our trip to catch us. It's like a sense of pride in driving sweep that like the trip doesn't catch you.
Okay, so, and where you're sitting right now in this still shot.
Yeah.
Is that a dangerous place?
It's not bad. Like you want to be. The front sweep could get me.
Could. It looks like it would just take your head off.
Yeah, but not right there. Brody knows how to drive sweep, so I'm not worried about it. So like, if Brody made a
Loses
mistake,
the door right there, the sweep.
What?
If he lost his sweep to the right, if he lost his front sweep and let go of it and it spun to the right, doesn't that take your head off? Or doesn't like
yeah, I wouldn't sit there during a rapid. But I would.
Where do you sit? Up closer to the.
See that Paco pad to his left?
Yeah.
There, like, or if I was back a foot, there's a place where the arms will get you. Yeah, but he needs to stand where that spot is. If that makes sense. So I'm on his like area. So that Paco pad is where Brody had been sitting.
Okay.
And there's a place they won't hit you, or the very back. My favorite place is at the very front. I love to just sit on the very front,
like on top of that the pivot point.
To the left or the right of it, like on those bags. Like I'll just sit on the bags and put my feet over the front. Like not in rapids, but not in hard rapids.
There. Never, I've never been in a sweep boat my whole life. Never even set. I don't think I've even set foot in one in camp.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, how much longer do you think you can run sweeps?
Boy, that's a good question. Here's our friends that took the photos. Thanks for sharing them with us. I was talking to Audrey the other day. Audrey's been doing it for us full time for a while.
Yeah.
And she said her goal was to do it till she's 40. And I was like, that's a good goal. I mean, full time. Do it like that.
Yeah, there's two different things. There's full time
and then a trip or two.
Yeah, a trip or two.
And that conversation with her, I go, man, actually, that's a good thing. Like my goal should be to like be able to do it until I'm 50. Like not a whole season. I don't. A whole season right now would be hard. I could
you just about 50. So you done?
I know. I'm at another year. Maybe. It's hard. It's exhausting.
It doesn't.
I
would say this: if I had some minions on there to push it off, if I got stuck, I would row it, but I wouldn't row it by myself. That looks terrible. Oh man.
I mean, minions would be nice.
I do. The water, push it off.
It's sort of like low water Tuolumne, though. Don't you kind of miss like those low water Tuolumne trips and like it's the challenge of it?
Oh no, I totally. And I would do the low water Tuolumne. That boat's way smaller, and I think I'm way less. Well, I'm more knowledgeable as well of the craft. I don't know how to run a sweep, so that makes it much more sketchy. But
I think I'd like to do it a lot longer. I'd like to, but I want to be realistic. I don't want to be like the 57-year-old owner who's out there ruining a trip because he wrapped somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to
start getting those supplements. You can start taking those supplements all the dudes are taking these days.
I can't know if I know what those are, but yeah,
you should get sponsored by a supplement company.
Yeah. I don't want to go past. I don't want my sweep boat driving career to end with me wrapped and be like, that's the last time I do it. Yeah. I don't want to like. Who's that? Who's the? I don't want to end like Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady's just having a terrible season this year. It would have been nice if he ended on a Super Bowl, or at least like last year we went to the playoffs. I like to end by going to the playoffs, but last year I don't want to end like throwing a bunch of interceptions in the last season.
Being under 500.
I do like Steve's idea for your life jacket. You could get like have like this, the name of the drug across the back of your life jacket for all the videos.
Get sponsored by a drug company.
The drug,
or like those testosterone supplement things or whatever. So
Norfolk Americans. Is it raining that hard, Steve?
Ooh,
Norfolk's up to 4,600.
Yep.
Wow.
Jared,
if you had hiked up to help us in the sweep, we probably would have said no. I'm glad you did. I mean, we appreciate the help.
Jared, next time go up and help them so you can say, yeah, Zach needed our help to get off.
There's a certain sense of pride as a sweep boat driver. Things you don't want to do. You don't want to ever miss camp. You don't want to pass camp. That's embarrassing. You want camp.
That goes beyond being a sweep boat driver, but
okay. Yeah, but it's a thing that like, it's really bad because you can't recover from it. You want camp set up before the crew gets there, and you want to make it seem like you're just relaxed and it was easy, right? So you don't want to be like setting up things while they like pull in and rush down all hectic. You don't want your trip to catch you. You don't want any trip to catch you. Like you don't want to get stuck and have somebody catch you while you're stuck. Like, but especially your trip, you don't want your guests to see you stuck. That's embarrassing. You
But
don't.
having said that, if you could get some video of you helping Zach get unstuck, that would be phenomenal to send.
It would be
I would
phenomenal.
appreciate that.
But you definitely don't want help from private boaters. That would be like we got unstuck, but we needed help from private boaters. So there's like not that I would say.
Wow, Zach, that's a little
Zach,
snotty of you there.
It is snobby.
It's sweet
Yeah,
boat
wow.
right there,
Other commercial motors, I'm okay getting help for, but not.
I'm not okay. No, I first of all, I don't want help from anybody. I don't want to rope to the boat. First of all, you don't want to get stuck. But if you get stuck, you don't want anybody to see you get stuck, right? And then if they see you get stuck, you don't want them to help you, whether it's commercial or private. But if it was somebody helping you, you would want it to be commercial because you know them versus some random private trip you don't know. Because you don't know what they'll do. I know other guides will do. They know how to. Other guides have seen stuck sweet boats. A private trip, who knows what we're in for, right? Who knows what kind of help we're going to get. Yeah, Jaron gets it. Okay, so you guys ready for our next thing?
Bedrock.
Yeah,
Bedrock.
Bedrock.
So we're almost done with Bedrock, but there's so much footage on the internet. As soon as I found some
You know
Bedrock
what's great is next year's good. We're going to even get more. Next year's going to be better. The river's going to be 6% lower.
Not even next year. Every week.
6% lower.
6%. They're releasing 6% less water next year than this year.
Did you guys notice the pins eclipse? I think
no, because Zach, you're not sharing it right now.
Oh,
you're
I'm
just
not.
watching it by
Oh,
yourself.
sorry. I was just watching it myself. Okay, sorry. I'll go.
Well, that's a sweet rig there.
Nice boat.
I mean, I watched this when I watched this once, so I forgot what happens.
It looks like a bucket boat, yeah.
He's running an Avon with pins eclipse. My guess is he crushes it. Okay, crush is good, by the way. For those of you who don't know, it's crushing it like he's running it.
Well, when it says at the top, 6 rafts,
18 foot
kayaks, one left run and flip.
It probably isn't this guy. That's not a downstream ferry. Oh, now I'm a little worried.
No, there he is. It's good.
All right, now he's got he's
getting it back. You know what? He's not even pulling that hard.
Yeah,
so it's so nice to see, right? He's just kind of pulling along.
It's pins eclipse, man.
It's class 3 rapid right there. Just pull to the right. You got it, dude. Yep, just pull to the right. Yep.
Another Avon with pins eclipse. This guy's wearing a helmet, respecting the rapid. Love it.
Oh, looks good.
Yeah, that was pretty effortless.
90-degree angle.
So wait, 90. Would you start with the downstream ferry and then go 90-degree, or just do 90-degree the whole way?
Looked like 90-degree the whole way worked, and I don't know the rapid well enough to know if you need to have a downstream angle.
I'd say I'd rather have a little bit. I think 90-degree works great. I'd rather have a little downstream in case I lose a little bit and catch something. I feel like that's a little more conservative.
What I find myself doing a lot of times is having that 90-degree angle, and then as you approach one of those little tiny holes or those little guard holes on the side, like going to the downstream angle to sort of
drive with that upstream more,
and then coming
because you're in that
back
position to use
90
your upstream more. You're not going to catch your upstream more. Yeah, you drive hard with the upstream more. Yeah,
drive hard with the upstream more. Push your stern into that thing to counterbalance it, counteract it, and then get back to 90 degrees. When you can see people doing that, I think that's a good sign that they know what they're doing.
Do you want to see Mark River comment?
Yes,
Mark.
Yes, we'd love to see left run at Bedrock at 4,000 CFS.
Yeah. Is this way?
Or are you going next year and you think you can do that for us next year?
I think Mark did a trip with little boats. Like everybody had 12-foot boats. So I'm guessing it's in a 12-foot boat. Maybe I didn't watch this whole video.
These all
somebody's going right and flipping that last boat.
Oh, there we go.
I noticed that they weren't following the others. They're way later after the kayaker. That was probably the person who was nervous, wanted to watch everyone else, and then did not have a good entrance.
Probably running spinnies. Oh, here we go.
Aaron, is that bad to go over there?
Yeah.
It's
because that's just a massive hole that they just went through.
No, you push up against the wall, and there's this eddy you can get stuck in. You
it's
can
a
flip on the wall,
swimmer.
come out of the eddy. It's just messy. Yeah, it's just not. It's just really. It's pretty messy over there. I kind of want to go over there on purpose, but because I've never gotten to go over there. But
Oh, aren't you amazing?
No, I mean everyone else has gotten to do it. I mean,
That's just everybody else is messed up. I should be allowed to mess up too.
you know, it's one of those when you do a river enough times, and there's places you haven't gone, you want to try to go there. Thanks, Mark. That'd be great.
Maybe I didn't watch this. That thing really exciting happened in the video. Oh, here, there's an upside down boat. Oh, I think I know why I like this.
In the current night.
Deep water flip.
Yeah.
They need more. Wait,
how many people
got
that 5?
Oh, is that you guys think that's an 18? That looks more like maybe a pro.
Yeah,
I think it's a 16. Come on, baby.
Yeah, it's got a lot of gear in it too. That's a heavy pro if it's a pro.
That was sweet.
5 people.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have done it with 4. That took every bit of those 5 people, didn't it?
And look at that dude climbing up over the front. That's impressive.
Big. Damn.
These guys are boaters.
Yeah, they're on it. That's a good rescue there. Nice.
All right. Next one.
Zach, why are you black now?
Hold on. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Every episode, Steve, Zach has some technology problems. This is why we're mediocre, Zach.
I know. Can you guys hear me right now?
Get past mediocre.
We can hear you. I have a technology problem too that I've band-aided through, but I can't.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I wonder what happened. I get it.
It's your new computer.
It could be.
There we go. We got some encouragement while we're waiting. Oh
yeah. Aaron, I think you should do it on your next commercial trip.
This is Brad Dimmick.
Yeah. So
Mark send this to you? Did Mark send this to you?
No, I think it just came up on the internet somehow.
Yeah, this is Brad. This is when he's.
This is one of.
This is again Bedrock.
Yeah, same
upstream
rapid.
ferry angle.
So I think this is Buzz Holstrom style boat.
Yeah. Woo! Ah!
I thought that was pretty cool. And look, his spinnies have covers on them. Do you see that?
They're leather. They're leather wrapped.
Leather oarlock.
No, they're over the top though. The locks. Sorry, the locks.
Oh, really?
What do you mean the locks?
You see, like the oars. Yeah. It's a circle. They go through a circle.
That must be the original, old school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That must have been how Buzz ran it on.
It's pretty cool. All right, and I have one more. Hold on.
Why do you think preference went away from that? Because
you
that oarlock stays. That oarlock stays on that oar. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't do that oarlock.
Oh yeah. So we got some nice comments while we're waiting on Zach.
There we go.
Sean said you tried left. You don't recommend it. Jaron
Somebody else said that you should though. Do it, Aaron.
If you're an animal, but it's best to do it on purpose. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thanks. And then would someone say his spares have locks? Oh, so the whole thing's removable. That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, the last video. This is another Bedrock one. They just keep popping up in my feed. Or I think we're almost done with Bedrock after these videos. But
is that just a straight upstream ferry angle?
Yeah. I mean, I think that could work.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, if you had just kept a good angle and just kept consistently pulling strong, and your boat's not too heavy, it would work.
Aaron, you've spent a lot of time in the Grand Canyon. I haven't. When I watched this video, it looks much scarier to me than when I watched the video. Exact same water level, I think. When I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a high water Bedrock run. It's probably the same water level, but just the color of that water Does it intimidate you anymore? Or have you gotten, is it like the same as looking at Clearwater?
It's just more, it's more work. I think that's what you look at with it. It's just more work. Everything's muddy. You know, filtering water is more difficult. It's hard to see the rocks underwater. And it is, the waves are actually, when it really gets muddy and so the white water isn't even white anymore, the brown water at this point, it definitely slows you down more. It's interesting. It's just the aerated water is not as soft to go through. It's like, it hits you harder. It's definitely, you can notice the density of the river is greater when it's carrying all that sediment, which is, so it's, I really like it.
Really?
In terms of running the water, and I like the contrast on the river. I think it's beautiful. In terms of the trip, it gets tiring because
No, this looks a lot more. This just looks intimidating to me. Completely different angles. These yellow boats versus those Avons in the previous clip, and completely different result. I mean, this isn't difficult.
What do you mean completely different result?
Well, almost every boat in the yellow one either went left to the big rock or hit the big rock or barely made it to the right of the big rock. Those first 3 Avons we saw
had no problem.
No problem. They weren't even sweating it. They were way to the right.
Yeah. Would you call that class 3, Steve?
Yeah. Probably, but again, not a lot of people have an opportunity to row high water class 3 rapids. Like, they don't exist very many places. So there's I think a learning curve and a familiarity that comes to doing that it's not the same as doing a class 3 technical river. But I don't think you have to have, I think you should be able to learn pretty quickly how to adjust.
Oof. Yeah.
So Aaron, the reason Aaron asked, because we had the long debates whether that's class 3 or class 4.
Oh, you want me to settle it for you?
But you just did.
Class 3.
Yeah.
And I'm calling it class 4.
No one agrees with Zach.
No, that's not true. Some people do.
We did
Most
a survey
people
of people here, people who listen to the show or watch the show, and no one said class 4. Everyone who replied said class 3.
And even if you factored in the fact that these are really, really heavy boats, which you could possibly say is going to affect the difficulty of the rapid, the difficulty of running the rapid, I don't think it's going to make it move from a 3 to a 4. I barely even think this is a 3+.
No, it's definitely a 4-.
Definitely pulled it up.
But I'm watching videos. I'm not.
Yeah, you're sitting in a chair at home.
There.
That's why. How dare you? That's what Aaron's doing. I'll tell you the reason why I think it's a 4. Because a lot of class 3 boaters are messing it up. And the consequence of a mess up is kind of bad. I mean, it's a flip.
Class 3 paddle captains. They're not class 3 rowers.
Okay. Ooh, man. Good idea or bad idea?
I mean, this is where like
3 hours later.
I mean, that is amazing. Like going from that other one where they flipped it over in the water to 3 hours later, still trying to flip it over like this.
Steve, do you remember the Molly's wrap at Nemesis?
Yeah.
When you were fishing down below and we tried this?
And you camped there?
I didn't camp there because we were on a deco trip. We went down. We left. But they camped there.
Yes, I remember camping there. I remember bringing them
ice cream
food later in the day.
Do you remember us trying this?
I don't remember it.
One of the guides was like, hey, I have this idea. Let's put an oar up in the air and pull on the oar. And it's pretty similar result. It didn't work.
Didn't work?
Yeah, we didn't do
seems like a good idea. I'm not sure.
It felt dangerous.
Well, they don't look like they have a lot of big people there. So, but they, with all those people, if they've been willing to get wet, they would have that flipped over in no time.
Aaron, I keep coming to that, but I don't think everybody has the skills.
It's not skills. You can get commercial guests and do
it. But you have a guide who's
last time I put down there was me and 6 commercials.
Aaron, because you're Aaron Cavagnolo.
No, it's like not. Clip on. Okay, everyone pull on the line. Here we go. Step back as the boat flips over, or go underneath. It's fine either way.
I still go back to what I said on this show once that didn't go over too well with either of you, that de-rigging this boat underwater upside down would have you wouldn't have
After
been
3 hours. You're right. That's a better option than 3 hours.
Hold on. Is this the method where you don't tie anything in, Aaron? Would this be a place when you?
No, we don't.
You don't tie your bags in.
Grand Canyon is not a breakaway method river.
Yeah, the breakaway method.
It's called the breakaway method,
which is not a method. It's just a theoretical thing that you and Steve thinks maybe works.
I both agree on the breakaway method has its place.
But I think that I agree with you.
Oh.
A talented guide, a talented person can organize everybody well together to reflip a gearboat mid-current. But somebody who's never done it and not trained on it.
You keep saying mid-current. It's not mid-current, just in the water.
In deep water or whatever. But usually you're in the middle of the river floating. You're not like
no. I would tie a line off to the bow.
Aaron, it's so hard to know how deep it is here. Especially with the brown water, you don't know how deep it is right here.
You can figure out pretty quick. You can go and take those paddles. It doesn't have to be that deep, and you can go check around.
It's hard because when you have the line on it, it starts floating back down to shore. It doesn't just.
You have it in an eddy. It's not exactly.
There's not always like this perfect eddy to reflip a 18-foot gearboat in deep water.
Pretty much there is. In Grand Canyon, there's always a perfect eddy.
So at bedrock, you see people do that below bedrock.
I want to know, engineering-wise, physics-wise, why you think with the same number of people, if those people were standing on the boat flipping it back away from the shore, that it would be any more effective than those same number of people standing on shore pulling towards shore. Like, give me the physics behind that.
Well, I mean, right now they're using a 3-to-1 with progress capture, so they can pull and take a break.
So I would say this is a far better
and pull and take a
mechanical advantage than trying to flip it with 5 people standing on the boat, leaning back on ropes.
In the water or on shore? I mean,
it would be like 8 people.
Because there's a big difference in the water. The boat goes down into the river and flips over like this. So it's like pivoting in a different spot. It's not pivoting along the bottom. It's pivoting it's pivoting at the water line basically. And it flips over at the water line. So you have less leverage you need to flip it over. You're pivoting more toward the center of the boat. So you need a lot less. And then you're pushing the boat down. The weight of your body is pulling down while you're pulling with your upper body, pulling it over. So it's just way more efficient in the water. Like so much more efficient.
I think, Aaron, it works when you're a river guide and all the guides are on the same page. Hey, jump on the boat. We'll flip it in the.
It's not all the guides. I've always
no, but like all the problem with a bunch of private boaters is they're going to get the boat to shore first. And I was just a private boater, so I'm not complaining private boaters. But like everybody has like a slightly different idea. And the easy thing to do is just put some ropes on it and flip it over. You don't have discussions about it. You just say, hey, guys, get on the boat.
I'm going to say this. Yeah. The standard is, in general, the standard for rescue for gearboats now is you flip it in the water because it's safer.
Is that everywhere or just the Grand Canyon?
That's pretty much become the standard. Like Tuolumne 2, we're doing that down there. Like, yeah, that's becoming the standard.
Steve, is that true? Is that the standard? Flipping boats in the water?
I didn't know that.
When I was running trainings, that's what
Aaron says it is.
Oh yeah, when Aaron was running a training, that was.
And I was going to say this. And when I worked a trip for Sierra Mac,
you were running the training.
Zach, when I worked trips for Sierra Mac and they had gearboats that flipped in general, that's how we flipped them back over too.
I'm not saying it's not a good technique. I'm just saying it's not always the answer. Sometimes this is the answer, and Chris is right. There are plenty of people that do it with deep water. They definitely do. The thing is, like, this works. And when you have a bunch of people who like don't know each other and there's different power dynamics, it's just easy. Get the boat over, put some ropes on, and flip it over.
This is 3 hours later, Zach. Clearly, it's
not
easy.
It's 3 hours later.
We saw how easy it was to do it the other way.
But you don't have a control experiment to say that it would have been less than 3 hours had they done it the other way.
Would have been. Oh, it would have totally been.
Oh yeah, we need proof.
Go back to the video.
It's because they had the oars up in the line, the whole thing. We did.
There's a rock. There's a rock there that's stopping it.
Aaron,
to come up. There's a rock.
I was just in this exact same position. That's why I have feelings about it. We flipped a boat at bedrock. We pulled it over the exact same spot. We had 3 ropes, and we had like 4 people on each rope, and it was hard, but we pulled it back over. So it took us like 15 minutes. And I think and there was like 5 different people with a lot of experience there with 5 different ideas. But the one thing everybody could agree on is let's just throw some ropes on and pull it over. If I had been like, hey guys, I had this idea, let's go out in the deep water, then a few of the other experienced people would have been like, well, I don't know, we'll see.
When you flip a paddle boat, do you try to bring it to the shore to flip it back over in general? What do you think is the standard of excellence? What do we think is in general the best method?
I think in
it's
general,
not always.
Aaron, I'm with you. In general, flipping in the deep water is the best method. I am with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying I'm not poo-pooing on this method either. This method works.
I'm not poo-pooing it either.
I think what's an advantage of it is that when there's varied experience and like several like alpha style people involved, everybody can just agree to this.
I'm going to say this. I've seen better success with it flipped away from shore than towards shore.
I've seen success and not success both ways.
Have you tried? Wait, was the success with my flip on the Illinois?
This is a situation where a leader,
is key.
If the 3 of us are there and we're contemplating it, I want to stay on shore. Zach's in the middle. Aaron wants to get in the river and do it. His belief that is the right way to do it is going to make the difference.
No, I would say this.
His commitment to it, his belief in it, his like, this is how I know this will work. And I'm sort of thinking, my way might work. Zach's like, I don't know which way is going to work. Aaron's belief that is going to work. I'm going to get on top of that boat and I'm going to believe him and I'm going to pull and it's going to work. And if Aaron's belief is that we should pull it from shore, then that would work.
But I'm going to back up and I'm going to say this, Steve. If I'm not the trip leader and it's not my raft, whatever they want. I find it works well. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to find that. We'll get to this in a second. I think this is Aaron's flip on the Illinois. I think.
Well done.
Thanks. I knew right where I've been editing video today, so I knew where it was. It's a leadership issue. Like if there's one person in charge and they're like, hey, go flip it in the deep water, it's going to work. But I feel like there's always a few, like when there's different people who think they're more knowledgeable and in charge, which there almost always is, people, no, that's not going to work. Then it starts getting hard. I think on a private trip, almost everybody agrees the ropes flip it over well. And it works. It's not that hard. We did it on my trip. We did it twice. And I felt it was safe. When you have 8, how many people does it take, Aaron? 8 people?
It took 5 on that other boat we watched. It was a 16.
On the 16. But how many people does it take?
I can't remember. It might have been 7, but we might have had a big, luckily with the commercial folks, you got a couple big people around always. So there might have been 7.
And are the oars on the boat or off the boat? Do you take the oars on first?
I left the oars on.
So I don't know. Flip 8 people on an upside down 18. 7. With an oar attached and come and hit them. Like, I don't know. There's a little worry about danger there. Where if it's on shore and you just like pivot it up and flip it, it's pretty safe.
I mean, the oars aren't a problem because the way they don't come over hard on top of people. It's just the way they drag behind. It's not a problem. You're more likely to get an ankle broken or have the boat fall on top of someone. And you're putting a lot more force on the ropes when you're doing it on shore because it takes a lot more force to flip it open.
All right, let's stop arguing because we're back on this topic again. We get back to some topics. Let me rephrase it. I think in my I'm gonna concede here a little bit and tell you what I think so we can move on. I think flipping I'm gonna call it mid current because I'm a big fan of the boat flips. Let's get on it and flip it back over.
Zach, from the comments I'm reading, you should stick to giving us advice on car tricks. And
I'm just gonna say I like flipping it in the water the way you're talking. I just think there's a lot of groups where ropes make a lot of sense. All right.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say you're putting more forces and you're throwing a lot of weight around on shore where people can get much more likely to get hurt. And that's why
Steve, this is Aaron's. We flipped Aaron's boat on the Illinois, leaving the eddy at Klondike. You know that wall.
Oh yeah.
And then
went over so quick.
It's hard to the whole thing's not here, but there's ropes underneath the boat that those 2 people are holding, so they can just lift it up and push it out like that.
Because right where we were, flipping on the shore would have been a mess. We would have been up on top of the
It would have been a
rocks.
mess.
Yeah. And so this was easier.
And there's deep water downstream, but not right here. We'd have to go downstream for a ways.
Yeah, we would have beat up the was I running I was running locks, huh? I didn't get to run pins and clips on that trip.
Yeah, you're running locks. We were at the guide house and trying to decide. Aaron gets there. I'm like, do you want locks or pins and clips? And Aaron's like, what's already on the frame? Like, what's less work to load?
Yeah. No, actually, I said, what are you bringing? Let's bring the same.
Yeah, I had pins and clips already.
You had pins and clips, but then you didn't have another set of pins and clips for me. Well, we're gonna have to switch them off. We're gonna have to switch them off the oars. It's gonna become complicated. And I was like, let's just go. Yeah. And then I flipped. I should have used pins and clips.
Should have used pins and clips. Steve, do you remember I was doing an Arctic trip? It was a 2-boat trip, and it was a boat flip just before the reservoir in Egypt.
Yeah, you and Rob Elliott. Or Rob
Everest.
And we flipped it. Wait, the gearboat flipped and came into the reservoir upside down. We took it to shore. We flipped it onto shore and put a hole in it.
Yep.
So I put holes in a boat flipping on shore. I know that's possible. I know it's possible. I think I would have done that differently.
In the reservoir, sure, you could have.
The reservoir was deep water. People. It was a 2-boat trip. It's a paddle boat and a gearboat. So
yeah.
It's hard to say if we had, we could have done it, but I would have been more careful not to like have it land on the shore and pop a tube. And then we had to boom it with a blown tube.
Oh, that's right.
All right. That's the only comment that agrees with you, Aaron, by the way. You made it seem like the whole world thinks I'm wrong and you're right.
I guess people are agreeing with me about other things.
Of course they are.
Telling me to run left at Bedrock. Did you delete some? I thought there were some others that agreed with me.
I did not delete anything. Did I delete some?
Aaron's writing his own.
Can you delete comments on this? How's that work?
I probably can. I haven't tried, but it's good to know that if I can.
Oh, Blue Puma agrees with me too. There we go. Another one. Thanks, Blue Puma.
Oh, jeez. Aaron, I'm agreeing with you as well.
Yeah, no, that's.
I have said I prefer flipping in deep
feel like
water.
you're arguing with me about it, though, Zach.
I'm just saying, don't be
Illinois doing
other
right
methods. Yeah, look at that, straight up.
What's the Illinois doing? I can't.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up here, gentlemen.
It's going up. Not crazy though. It looks like it's about to peak. Yeah. I think we did everything. We talked about Bedrock, we did Mental Angle, Bogus Thunder, Zach Stuck, and we have trivia winner. We have a trivia winner.
Well, we've got a semi because it is on the Stanislaus River, but no one named the rapid on the Stanislaus.
You know what? Since nobody did name the rapid, I think we can give it to Blue. Although Blue Puma's won a lot. Blue Puma, if you want to win something else, you can because you deserve it. But just email Aaron what you want. And we'll send it to you. No, you deserve it. Congratulations, Blue Puma. We
someone can name the rapid right now.
Lower stand.
If someone can name the rapid on the Stanislaus.
Is that the north stand or the lower stand? I have no idea where it is.
It's on the Goodwin Canyon run.
The lower stand.
Really? That's one of those rapids down there? Aren't there only 2 that have names or something?
No, there's a lot of names. There's
Iron
3
Box.
main ones.
Is that Iron Box?
Iron Box is on that run.
It's a spooky run, Steve. Have you gotten a chance to check that out?
No, I've never done it.
Yeah, it's close to home. Yeah, man. If you want to live on the edge for a day, head on down there. It's fun.
That you know why that rap is named Iron Box?
Because there's an iron box in it.
Yeah, but it's like an undercut. It's an iron box tilted to become an undercut. It's super dangerous.
This is not Matterhorn.
It's not Matterhorn. But you were close when you guessed. When you said Matterhorn, you were close.
Yeah, it's a different rapid.
Whoa, underwater. That's cool. Yeah, that's annoying. Wow. The rules. What are those? There's no rules, Heidi.
Yeah, well, we make them up. I'd say we make them up as
we make up everything as we go. AO is the giveaway. Yep. Ooh, Sagebrush got it.
Nice.
All right.
Sagebrush is a member. Nicely done.
Sagebrush, you win. Email Aaron at aaron@riversnotions.com. Tell us whether you want Rivers of California, Whitewater Safety and Rescue, Rivers of Oregon, Impassable Canyon, or this cute little sparkly mug, or a signed autograph of Aaron.
What about the dream team?
What's the dream team?
From with the thumbs up when they're hurtling down. Has someone already asked for that? Requested that? Is that gone now?
What are you talking about?
Point break or break point? What's that?
No, somebody already got that. The point. Oh yeah, the point break thing. Somebody already got that.
Somebody asked for that. Oh.
Johnny SR got it.
No way. Oh, that's gone. Man, that's rough. That was an awesome one.
That's gone. We had to close this show down, guys. I know it's got a long time. I've run the Bruno.
Yep.
Aaron.
Great run.
Oh, there you go. Signed autograph. I'll have to print out a photo of Aaron, mail it to him.
Oh, geez.
And then have him sign it, and he'll
really. That's an offer.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Sagebrush. Email Aaron what you want. If you want the autograph, email him that with your address, and then we'll get that to you.
That'll be tricky. All right.
Haunted house. Yeah.
Haunted house. Yep.
Sagebrush got it, Sean.
Beat you out. All right. Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and ring the bell to get notifications, please do so. Zach really wants to get to 10,000 members by the end of the year. Zach, how close are you?
Not very close.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Well, I finally subscribed yesterday to help you out. So
thanks.
You're welcome. Hey, you guys, appreciate you guys all tuning in. Thanks for all your comments. And Steve, it's always great seeing you and
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Zach, we're back next week.
Tuesday show. We get a Tuesday show. We already have questions for it.
I already have questions for Tuesday and Friday, and we'll just keep cruising along then. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it. I got one more thing for you.